right. Oh, it's cold out. Boy, I tell you what. You want to catch pneumonia? Come to Florida in February. Boy, hot during the day and cold at night. But been worse. I know the Midwest is no joke in wintertime. Experienced that. I know Nevada, no joke in wintertime. Experienced that. I know it doesn't matter where you're at. It only matters where you're going. So it's something we'll get over, right? You know, you get over it. I've always said it. If you're wet, cold, well, you can get dry and warm. If you're down and out, find something to lift you up, get you back in the game. Life is full of choices. It's all what you make of it. We all know that. And so it's now getting close to the end of February, and I'm still in Panhandle, Florida. I'm tying up some loose ends here. I know I intended on being in Texas by now, but it takes a little longer sometimes, but it's all right. Just like any project you're doing, and you know, somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, well, I want to do it this way," or "You got to do it that way," or whatever. Most times, it's just to me, it's a waste of your breath, because you know, I might do things a little bit different, but if the end result's the same, then what's the difference? You know, tried to tell people that in the past. So, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and most times, you know, it might surprise them that the outcome was the same. Sometimes even better, maybe, than what they'd perceived originally. But the point is, as long as you get to the end result and it's the same, if not better, it's okay. So to be open-minded and to be one that welcomes that way of thinking, then, well, it'll only be ahead of the game. You never know. It might surprise you sometimes how people go about doing things. You might find it to be a better way. So, with that being said, I'm preparing for my migration out west, and not too far off. I've finished up my work on the ranch out there, and told them I'd be moving and everything, and you know, it's be all right, be good. Got done helping some people out here. I still got one fellow that I'm doing some work for in town there at the beach, and I'll be done doing his deal here probably the end of this week. As soon as he gets parts for that old truck, I'll be finishing it up. And I got some new tires hopefully today on my pickup, and I had a water leak in the camper yesterday, about flooded the whole dang thing out, but be all right, I can fix it. And so with that being said, it's all good. I know it. My love is on the beaches of Texas now, and I told her, I said I'd start walking on the beach here. I'll head west, you head east, and maybe we can meet in the middle. I mean, it's a 12-hour drive between here and there, so I'd still be walking. But it's all right. We'll meet up. You know, it's what's meant to be. It'll happen. My watch. Speaking of walking, my watch said I walked 10 miles yesterday. Well, I didn't leave the 5-acre property here, so amazing. You know, some days time just flies on by you. What's important about that is that you were productive, that you accomplished something that you wanted to do, or help somebody that maybe didn't even know they needed the help. Um, it's it's funny, you know. It's life. That old man upstairs, boy, he wears a crooked smile most days, and you just gotta sometimes let go of the reins and just let him do his thing. And you know, it's if you believe in doing the right thing for the right reasons, and if you want to, you know, adhere to the idea of going forward in your own personal growth, then well, wherever he takes you and wherever you're wanting to go is usually the same place. Uh, it's when you want to fight that, you know, and I lived that way for a long time. You know, I always said, you know, back in my 20s, I read a book that the president of a company I worked for at the time, you know, salesperson of the month, whatever, he sends you a book, a motivational book with a, you know, signed to you and all that inside. And I got this book called The Secret. And I read it, and, you know, I just, like many of the books I'd consumed at that point in time in my life, I just, you know, skimmed over the pages and didn't really absorb any of it. But not long after that, maybe a year later, somebody at work said, "Hey, there's this movie called The Secret," and we watched it as a group. And then I was like, "Whoa!" Kind of, for some reason, it sunk in a little bit differently when I watched it on the boob tube, and watched it again. I watched it 3 or 4 times, I think, and then I read the book again, and then I really absorbed it, and then changed my life. It's about manifest destiny, and about, you know, this secret that's been around for all of time, that supposedly the powers that be, so called, they all know about this secret, and it's, you know, pretty much it's more about manifest destiny than anything, about your attitude and about the law of attraction. And I believed in it, and I still do to an extent, but it made me really feel like I was in control. I was, you know, in my mid-20s, and I'm successful and making a bunch of money and living in these beautiful resort destinations, and just living high on the hog. And I was an active addiction, you know. I'm doing cocaine on the weekends and drinking every day, being, you know, going to the bar after work, and, you know, going home and then drinking more and passing out and getting up in the morning early, going to work and doing it all over again. Carrying around 10 grand in my pocket at all times like some fat cat, and being just arrogant and just ungrateful, and just not at all in tune of how the world really works. I thought I was, you know, I got that secret in me, and boy, I thought I was, all of a sudden I was in control of my destiny. I was in control of my life, and I could, you know, do anything. As my grandmother once said, "You do anything you put your mind to." Yeah, it's true. Well, I thought I took it to an extent that took it a little too far. I mean, I figured one time when I pulled it, I said, after I read that book, it said something about, you know, if you're thinking about running late to work, and you hit one red light, and then you say, "Oh, you're gonna hit every red light." Well, you're gonna hit every red light. That happened to me one time, and I'm like, wow, it must be real. And then it said something about every time I pulled into a grocery market, and there's always a parking space close up by the door for me. And it did that one time, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm sold. This works. I believe it. Well, that's all little meaningless things that happen. And so I took it too far. I thought I was in control of everything. I was in control. Turned into a control freak. And the one thing that you really want to be in control of is your own life, you know. And I thought that I could manifest my destiny into whatever I wanted it to be. Well, that was good for about 10, 12, 13 years or so. And then the bad stuff started happening, you know, things that were really out of my control. Things that you really take disappointing, and you take it hard when it happens to you. The things that really make you more understand that you aren't so in control of your life. You aren't so in control of things. You know, you really, when it first starts happening, you lose your faith. You know, you ask God, oh God, why is this happening to me? God, well, how could you be so cruel? God, how could you do this to me? Well, in that losing faith, that's the turning point. That's the great challenge he gives you. Because if you lose your faith, boy, it could be a downward spiral to crash and burning is the only outcome of that. But when you pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and you get out of this situation, then maybe you learn to live with less. Maybe you learn to be more appreciative of what you did have. Maybe you find some gratefulness in you that you overlooked in the past. Maybe you realize I've said it before, what the important things are. These important things, they're not things, they're the people that you love. People, more so the people that love you, because you know, it's amazing how those who care come out of the woodwork when you're down and out. The ones that you wouldn't think would be there for you, they just appear. And it really makes you rethink things. It makes you think, oh, I thought I was in control. No, you weren't in control. I thought I knew who my friends were. No, you didn't know who your friends were. I thought I was, happy. You weren't happy because it wasn't you. Maybe that person you were portraying to be, maybe they were happy. But if that's not really you, deep down, your personality, your what you're made of, sometimes you lose sight of who that person is. And the further and further you drift away from who you really are, the harder and harder it gets to get back to who you're supposed to be. So, I know sometimes my philosophies and my videos that I make and send seem like witty banter to meaningless gibberish, but there's got to be someone out there that picking up what I put down. It's a funny thing. But anyway, so this is what the plan is we're going to put the tires on the truck today. We're going to get the camper fixed up. We're going to tie up some loose ends. I know I set a deadline for myself to be headed west, but one thing I've learned in the recent years is that putting a deadline on myself or putting a time frame into what I'm going to do and all that, it just again set myself up for disappointment. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go forward and just keep moving forward little by little. If I got to scrape away at the things I got to get done and get it done and do it and put it behind me. It's like walking through that big old house and shut the door behind you going forward, usually. Or like driving 1,200 head of cattle 100 miles crossed all these big open spaces, pastures, and state forests, and other people's farmland and all that, you better shut the gate behind you. So, going forward, hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all stay in God's good graces, and I hope you find something that's meaningful to you, and water that seed. Water the seed of what's important to you. First, you got to know what you're growing. You got to know what you're planting. It's like any good farmer. He tell you what to expect, but you have to nurture that seed. You have to water it. You have to make sure you plant it in the right foundation, the right soil, and you gotta take care of it. Just because it's not breathing and blinking doesn't mean it's not alive. God bless you all. Stay strong. Stay vigilant. Consume only the things that help you grow, both spiritual, physically, personally, mentally. What are you feeding your brain, folks? What are you feeding your brain? You are what you eat. We'll see you next time. Love you.